to have you with the university and at OK State TV. And the first thing I really had a chance to see you do, Julia, was the Friday with Family segment last week, the Zoom conference with Coach Holder. Thought it was outstanding. I mean, the highest flattery anybody in this business can give. Fortunately, I've heard it a few times, and I've given it more than a few times. Is to say, boy, I wish I'd done that. If somebody tells you I wish I'd done that, that means that was really good. And
Well, thank
I
you.
wish I'd done that, Julia.
Well, that was a fun one. I'm working with the Alumni Association on those, and they've had some real fun guests. The first week we had President Hargis and the first cowgirl, and then we had Coach Holder last week. And especially with sports, right now people are craving sports content, so it was fun. I think we had a good following, and Coach Holder was nice enough to spend a good long time with us answering questions from me and from audience members. And then this week we have Dr. Dunn from OSU CHS, so she'll be talking more on the medical side and what we're doing there. So if anybody's free on next Friday, feel free to tune into that as well.
Yeah, and I think Oklahoma State converting their lab in the veterinary school over to working toward the testing for the COVID-19 virus. That's huge. And I've heard people outside of the Oklahoma State community, just folks in the state of Oklahoma, talk about how impactful that is to have the Oklahoma State lab now jumping in on that cause.
Right, and actually, I went over there. I think it would have been this last weekend. So we were allowed. They're very careful, of course, to follow protocol and things like that. But we were allowed in the clean side of the lab, so you could see through the window people in full garb working in what they call the hot side of the lab and doing those diagnostic tests. And it's been really neat what they've been able to turn around so quickly. And really just jump in to help. They're like, we have that equipment, we have what we need, so let's make it happen and do it fast. I think they're doing thousands of kits each day. So OSU's really helping lead the way in that process.
Yeah, and let's get back to your segment a week ago with Coach Holder. I love the way you started it, and it was long. And he even said at the end of it, you probably got more there than you bargained for, but I thought it was compelling. I thought it was, for somebody in the business and that couldn't be in those meetings, that wanted to know what was going on. You asked him to recount what went on in Kansas City with the cancellation of the Big 12 tournament, and then we followed that right on to the cancellation of the NCAA basketball tournament, and then the cancellation of all spring sports. And he really took you hour by hour, even was honest. I mean, to the point where he said a couple of times, I'm thinking to myself, why are we canceling these sports? I
Right.
mean, showing that at the time he wasn't necessarily he had not bought into how severe this was. I thought it was very I thought he was very open and honest, and I thought it was compelling. It was, I mean, I literally was listening on the edge of my seat, and that was a great way to start it. And even though it went really long, it was intense. I thought it was pretty cool.
I agree. To get that firsthand account, I'm grateful that he took us through so detailed because it is so interesting. I mean, the fact that it was changing hour by hour and that they were all there together, just such a complicated process. I was actually over in the Orange Power Studios. I was working on stuff for the O'Brate Stadium opening, so was talking to them, and they were getting phone calls, from all the higher ups, just changing every second. Oh wait, this team isn't coming anymore. We're changing this. This game is canceled. So the play-by-play of that was just strange because nobody really knew what was going on, but they had to handle it moment by moment.
I would rather you wait until after the show's over today, but you can go to okstatetv.com and you can watch back last, if you didn't see it, with Julia Benbrook interviewing Mike Holder as part of their Alumni Association Friday with Family series. You can watch it. And in fact, I told John about it, John Holcomb, and he pulled some of it and used it on the Sunday Sports Blitz. last week. So you can go watch it. I would stay here and listen to the entire interview for sure with Julia because,
Right, you'll
gosh
get even
knows,
more this way. Do
it
both.
may yeah it may it may be even more compelling. You're an OSU girl. I mean, and
I
people are
am.
going to say, why is Robert having Julia Benbrook on? I mean, she doesn't dribble the basketball or she doesn't swing and hit home
I played
runs or
basketball in fourth grade, and my jerseys were orange. Doesn't that count for something?
I guess so. But for folks who don't know, she is very athletic and was a 4-year member of the Palm Squad. But before we get to some, because I have questions about that. And by the
Okay.
way, yeah, I think I've made more friends with the Spirit, the folks that lead the Spirit groups, the coaches and so forth. But I never did. I've never been asked to be part of the selection committee for a Pete for not that I have
Huh.
any real, knowledge, and I'm not a very good dancer, so I wouldn't choose me as a judge for any of that anyway. But before we get to that, I want to talk about your dad, Bruce Benbrook,
Yeah.
and he went into the Hall of Fame, and you are an OSU family, and Oklahoma State means a lot to you and your entire family, and probably even just a little bit more with Dad in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that was really neat. My dad, Bruce Benbrook, I mentioned playing basketball in fourth grade with orange jerseys. I mean, he
Was he your
coached all those
coach?
teams. Oh yeah, all the way through,
Okay.
and I had no choice. If I wanted pink, we were probably still going to be orange. Um, but he's been my biggest cheerleader, him and my mom, my whole life, and I don't know if he missed a game that I cheered on the Palm Squad or things like that. Has just always been there. So this was really neat for us to get to turn the tables and cheer him on. And we had family, both sides of the family from all across the country come in. And they have this black tie event at the Alumni Association. I think the dress code is black with a touch of black tie with a touch of orange. So that's always interesting to tie that in there. But we just had such a fun time. It was it was really special. They did a full video with him recapping things. He's a huge OSU basketball fan, huge OSU sports fan, but basketball fan. And Coach Boynton made an appearance in his video. So he thought that was pretty cool. He was on cloud nine.
I'm sure he was happy to see Eddie Sutton voted into the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. Yep. I think
Yeah.
everybody in the OSU community is. It's about time for that. So we're excited.
No, no doubt. And I do. I can vouch for what a big fan Bruce Benbrook is of his daughter because every time I run into him, he'll give me an update on what Julia's doing. So I think I said, John, I probably knew you were at Channel 6 first because of your dad more than John. And I would ask John, how's Julia doing over there? Because, I mean, I remember interviewing you, remember your major and would see you on the sidelines, obviously at games because I'm down there doing my job, and you were down there doing yours in the Palm Squad, and so yeah, even back then, like yeah, that girl's pretty sharp. She's going to go places, and like I said, I think Oklahoma State's got a really good spokesperson involved there with OK State TV. All right, let's get into some of your current projects. Speaking of with OK State TV, and you mentioned that you had time to spend with the Obrates, and when you asked
Yeah.
Coach Holder about that last week in the uh, alumni presentation with him, the Friday with family, I could sense the hurt in and you were wearing an Obrate Stadium T-shirt. I could sense the hurt, especially that opening did not come off as scheduled on March 20th. And talk a little bit about the project with interviewing the Obrates and how much forward you are looking to the actual opening of that stadium whenever it may come.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that. So I had done when the McKnight Center opened and the New York Philharmonic came in. I did a show for that, an hour-long presentation. We did all the details from students to sitting down with Ross and Billy McKnight and the New York Philharmonic and all those things. So we had done a show for that, and Athletics had seen it, and they had asked me to do the pregame show for ESPN Plus for the O'Brate Stadium opening. So we were going to cover everything from Cecil O'Brate to the Holiday family to President Bush coming to town, just all sorts of things. So excited about it. And we were, in that last week when everything changed and everybody needed to start working from home and take those precautions. But thankfully, I did get a trip into Garden City, which is where Cecil and Frances O'Brate live. And I
That's a
got to
ways out
spend,
there, by the way, Julia.
do
That's
what?
it's a ways out there. It's a ways
It
out
is.
there to Garden City.
It is a trek. It is. So we went down, we spent probably a weekend, by the time you get down there and back, and stayed in one of the hotels that he has there. And then we got up that morning and just spent the full day with him at work. He took us to lunch at his regular spot and took us around to his numerous businesses he has in Garden City. And it was one of those things I remember calling my bosses saying, like, I know you want a 3-minute piece on this, but that's not going to happen. I need like a 30-minute documentary. And so thankfully they gave me both. And so we interviewed people that he works with and things like that. But he's just fascinating. He's 91 years old. He had given me, or Coach Holder actually gave me one of his books. So he has a book called Make It Happen, pretty big, and I had gone through and sticky noted the whole thing just with questions and things I wanted to know. But we talked with him and did all of that, and then got to see, this was probably my favorite thing. So, of course, President Bush was going to throw out one of the first pitches, but Cecil's employees had said, now, wait a second, you need to throw out one of the first pitches as well. So he's never played baseball, had never been to a baseball game until Coach Holder had gotten him involved. But he practices the first pitch out in the warehouse every single day. Not right now because they're in quarantine, but he had been doing it every single day, and they had been setting goals for him to reach the actual space to throw it. So that was pretty fun to get to see him practicing and doing all that.
That's good. That's interesting. And I was going to ask you, um, now, were you going to have a chance when he came into town to speak with President Bush?
That was the plan. I think it
Okay.
always depends, when you're dealing with a president on kind of what the day looks like and what it ends up being. But Cecil had said that he was going to do his best to get that for me, and have the chance to get a few questions in with him. So hopefully,
That's
fingers
good.
crossed, when this all gets back to normal and we actually do have that opening, hopefully he's there, and hopefully we get to do that again.
I hope that for you because one of the highlights of my career was being at Texas A&M in the pregame, and you know President Bush, the President Bush you were going to speak to, his father, very tied to Texas A&M, and he was on the field pregame walking, and of course, dumb Robert, walks right toward the president, and even after their president, they have Secret Service detail. And as I'm walking straight to the president, like I'm gonna go talk and ask him if he'll come on our pregame, there's a guy that jumps in front. I'm like, he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I was gonna ask President Bush if he would come on our pregame." He
Uh-huh.
goes, and I saw President Bush put his hand up and say, "It's okay." And when I asked him, he said, "Well, sure, sure." He came over there and was on with us. And when he finished, he goes, "You know, I've always wanted to meet your coach. I like that Coach Gundy." And
Oh,
I said,
fun.
"Okay." Oh yeah. So Mac Butler is standing there, and I mean, Mac goes into a dead sprint to get the head coach out there to speak with the president. But yeah, I have it on tape, and yeah, I mean, to say you spoke with a president because I don't think that many, certainly one on one, it's pretty cool. Um, let's get back to you. I wanted to ask you this. You're a 4-year member, and I know a very proud alum of the Oklahoma State Spirit Squad.
Absolutely.
We
Yes.
Yeah, and we have award-winning, whether it's Pistol Pete, and Pistol Pete's known across America. I mean, one of the best mascots in college sports. The Palm Squad is award-winning. To be honest, at media gatherings, that's a bragging point for the OS. We always say, well, you know what? I can guarantee your Palm squad's not as good as ours. Guaranteed, in the Big 12. Cheerleaders are award winning, national contests, all that stuff. But correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't this time of year in school, generally the time they do tryouts and they do selections for the next year's Pete, the next year's cheerleader squad and Palm squad? And how is the COVID-19 pandemic affected spirit squads at Oklahoma State?
Yeah, absolutely. So tryouts for both cheer, pom, and Pete, I guess, I mean, all happen around this time, kind of close to Dead Week, Finals Week time period. So it's always a crazy time. And those teams, the cheer squad is led by Lindsey Bracken, and then Becky Jackson works with Pom, and then coordinates all things for Pistol Pete as well. And I stay in pretty close contact with Becky and was actually texting her a little bit today, just kind of about what they were doing and how they were handling it. And I know they're pushing things back. Both Lindsay and Becky speak and get updated through different conference calls with the athletic department each week. So as things are changing, they're in on that and just trying to coordinate with what the school is doing, what the Big 12 and the NCAA are doing. They have rescheduled tryouts. I think some virtually, some just keep pushing back the date for some of these teams. So I think, priority is obviously safety there, but they're still staying active. Becky will post different choreography sessions on Instagram and does workout stuff with them via online stuff. So keeping up with school and keeping in shape so they'll be ready to go when tryout season does come up.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing how this has impacted all kinds of things, and that's the other thing that I was gonna harp on or have you witness. Um, Sometimes I don't think people realize how much work goes into. In fact, I sometimes felt sorry and feel sorry for the Spirit Squad because they still have to go. I mean, it's like the athletes. It's like the football, baseball, basketball, softball, you name it, soccer. You still have to go to classes. You still have to do that, and you're expected to do well. And then you got all that time invested, and I don't know that people realize how much time's invested by the Spirit Squads and by the Petes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we always joke that the Spirit Squads don't have an off season. Everybody else gets a little bit of an off time, but we do football, basketball, wrestling. Normally, there's a different dance every time. And so they've got sidelines and keep up with things like that. So it really is a hardworking group of athletes. They are considered a part of the athletic department here at OSU. It's not like that at every school. So that is a huge help to be a part of that. But we do workouts. You've got to stay fit, got to stay up on your coursework, and then represent the school at a lot of different events. But I think the payoff is there as well. I mean, there's just a lot of cool things that you get to see and be a part of when you serve as a representative of the university.
Julia Benbrook. If you don't know that name, you should, and you're going to because she working at OK State TV and doing all the projects she's doing. She's going to get to do what I was talking about earlier. When you work at the university, you feel like you're an incoming freshman and a senior graduating every year, and it's cool to be for your workplace to be the university is really cool.
Absolutely, yes. The Stillwater's home, so it's nice to be able to still be a part of that community.
Hey, I appreciate the time.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
All right, Julia, thank you.
All right, talk to you soon.